Yeah, so that's a pretty big package.
So he volunteered to help me fix these coolant lines since he had done pipe flaring before.
This is gonna be freaking sweet. McLaren video part number 6 coming at you live from the Inja compound. Ryan's coming over for the wiring harness right now. He's gonna start piecing all these wires back together with the new harness, splicing it all in. I'm gonna go ahead and get to work hopefully on the steering and the heater box while he's doing that. But yeah, you guys saw last video. That's pretty much where we're at. So let's just get to it.
So with the coolant lines fixed, it's time to now move on to repairing the damaged wiring harness. There was a large cluster of wires that I suspect were cut by the firefighters at the scene of the crash, and Ryan said he'd tackle that since wiring is his specialty. But while he was on his way, I got to work on repairing all the wiring besides that. There were several damaged connectors to replace, so I whipped out that new wiring harness and got to splicing.
All right, I just got the wiring harness ready for Ryan to repair this mess. Oh man, this is why I need his help right here. The other side I can probably handle myself. It's just miscellaneous connectors and a couple broken wires and stuff. If he's as good at wiring as he says he is, you know, I trust the guy. And so you guys can see this is what it currently looks like, and this big patch of wires right here on this wiring harness it broke right there, and so all of these wires leading up to the front are what's missing. So that's the biggest thing to patch in, and then my task is just kind of swapping out some damaged connectors on the other side. So yeah, I guess I'll just get to work, and whenever he shows up, we'll get this thing rolling.
There's so many wires that are the same color with no other indications besides their gauging.
So all this is what you'll be splicing in right there.
I was hoping there would be like a junction right here that we could just put this on.
Yeah, I don't even know what those wires would all run to. I don't even know if there's a way to track them all.
It's wrong, it plugs in and blows the air back.
Yeah.
That'll be it.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
At least we have yellow wires for those ones. And then those probably...
When I first saw this cluster of broken wires early on, I always knew and feared that these wires could be the biggest nightmare of the project. Without any identifiers on each wire, we couldn't connect the wires without tracing them all the way back to the ECU, and even then, wouldn't really be able to figure out where each wire would need to go. Most of the wires were all the same colors and the same size of wire, so while we thought they may be interswappable power and ground wires, connecting them wrong could damage signal wires and other electronic components. This was basically a defusing a bomb kind of situation. Going into it, we really didn't know what wires would do what, and if we connect them wrong, metaphorically, electronics would probably explode. So once again, Ryan committed time away from his own family to help me repair the broken wiring harness and figure this whole mess out. Truly a blessing having his help with this.
Brakes were all fine, hydraulics were all fine, except this, some of the lines were ripped out of the hydraulic pump. So there was leaking hydraulic fluid right here.
Right.
I don't know if it would have splashed that high up though.
They all match up, all the numbers tell you the corresponding wire.
Beautiful. That's a huge relief.
That makes me feel a lot better about all that, because then you know for a fact everything is perfect.
100%. Yeah, that would have been tough if there was no identifiers for each wire.
Upon close inspection, Ryan found tiny numbers printed on each wire in about 6-inch increments. And as pure luck would have it, they all match the wires on the new wiring harness except one. So what would have been an almost impossible task turned out to be a pretty straightforward process, requiring only a couple days of work reconnecting all the wires together. The fluid we discovered on the wires, whatever it was, dissolved a lot of the numbers on the car's harness, so we had to cut the sheathing higher to find every number. But in the end, thankfully, every wire but one matched and was reconnected. So Ryan got straight to work getting those wires straightened out, and in the meantime, to stay out of the way, I worked on miscellaneous tasks on the side and inside the car to prepare for installing all the main mechanical components when the wiring harness was finally complete, after staring at all those broken wires for the last few months. It's a big moment, very cool moment. This whole process was a little on and off over the course of a few days, Ryan and me chipping away at it when possible. Curt also came over a few times to work on our go-kart project, figuring out a couple little things, and he also helped a bit with soldering wires as well. It's such a special thing, hanging out with truly good people, working on cars like this. So many conversations happen that you'd never get just casually hanging out with someone at a coffee shop. On projects like this, you get to see a piece of their heart and who they truly are. And it's just really cool to see. I wouldn't trade it.
Hey, yes, good. Correct. I'm just curious if you guys could swap the glass in. I have the windshield. I just need somebody to remove the old one and put the new glass in. Yeah, that's the biggest part, for sure. I got you. But most of it's already disassembled for you. You pretty much just need to get the old glass off, and then everything's pretty much already out of the way for you. Awesome. I will save your number and you will be the shop. And I have the glass, it's just in a box from shipping already, so I didn't even take it out. So it's definitely safe. And when I actually have the car ready to bring in.
I had been calling around a lot of windshield replacement shops in my area, and none of them would work on MCLARENs, nor were many of them even able to provide glass for it. But there's always that one shop that's a diamond in the rough, and I finally found it. A lot of this project has been calling around, trying to find people willing to just give things a shot and help me out. Like the VIN verification a couple months ago, you guys remember. Simple things, but not simple when it's a MCLAREN, apparently. But so far, things are working out. It's just, you have to put in the time and sometimes get creative with solutions.
It's like a real wiring harness, dude.
That don't look too bad.
That is so sick. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have ourselves a full wiring harness. This is the first time in years this car has actually had these connectors and plugs and just a full wiring harness on it like this. And the last thing I just remembered that we need to address is just the brake module connector here. You guys remember there was one kinked wire right there. It's still fully functional, so it's obviously still connected. But what we're gonna do, and what Ryan actually just suggested, is because the actual connector is still completely fine, we just have to swap the clamping mechanism basically. And if we can depin that one wire, we can repair that one wire. It should be a pretty easy swap. It is done. This was the last thing to fix on the wiring harness. Now we got a freaking complete wiring harness. Obviously, thanks to Ryan, dude. Thank you so much. And now that the wiring's done, you guys know we throw everything back on. Steering rack, heater box, steering pump, everything is gonna fly on. So let's get to it. Once again, thank you, Ryan. Appreciate you.
So things are starting to look up on this project. With all the big repair items pretty much knocked out, I prepare to finally begin reassembling the car, hopefully for the last time ever.
It's time to install the rest of the parts on the front end. So we got the steering rack, the heater box, the steering pump, ABS module, and the brake booster, and a hydraulic pass-through thing. First off, we are gonna need to cut the coolant lines to length. So that is what I'm going to start with. I know I'm gonna need some more coolant lines and stuff, I think, when I actually have everything installed. But if nothing else, let's just get all the main components installed, get all the modules plugged back in. And I think with the repair of this ground wire on the original harness, I bet you we'll be able to pop the engine bay once we get power back to the car and most of the modules plugged in. This is a very exciting time, and hopefully we can get that engine bay open this video. That is a big goal right now. So let's just get to it and see what we can figure out.
A lot of this build too has been referencing old photos I've taken. I've done enough projects at this point that I know to take detailed photos of everything before working on anything, just so I know how it went when I go back to put it together or make changes to something and need to know its original routing.
We are at the point where the coolant lines are as run as they can be until I actually have components in and I can check, you know, connection points and lengths they need to be and everything. Got that coolant line cut to length and that coolant line cut to length. These ones go to the heater box, which I can connect after the heater box actually is installed. So yeah, anyway, that's the name of the game right now. I'm gonna get the heater box hopefully installed at this point. Since we have the door open, I can finally get these last little screws out. So let's do it.
And while I want to think I'm over the hump on this build, there's a ton of work to do yet. The tab that holds the hood had snapped off in the accident, and the skills of Lord Curt himself came into play once again. Besides carbon fiber, the MCLAREN is made of all aluminum, and Curt had learned TIG welding for the electric Ducati project a couple years ago, so that was a very useful skill to have here. He came over and welded that freaking tab right back on.
Putting in the steering rack first. The heater box is gonna take too much space. I'm expecting to take all this off again at some point. That's kind of just the reality of a project due to little leaks and whatnot that I have to fix. So if everything has to come back off. Hopefully not, that's the hope, obviously. But for now, I'm not really torquing stuff down super tight. I already know I'm gonna need a couple more coolant lines here and there and things. This is kind of just an initial first install of everything, all the new parts. Hopefully I just put it all back together right now and then nothing leaks, everything's good to go, and I can start torquing all the bolts and stuff down. That's the hope. But I'm expecting that not to be the case. We shall see. But we have the boot installed and everything. Everything looks like it's linked up just fine. Everything fits in here stock like it should. Hydraulic units right here, easily serviceable. It's super cool seeing all this stuff, you know, exactly where it needs to be. Pretty cool. All right, with the steering done, let's get this heater box in for the first time. Officially installed. Hopefully we don't have to keep installing and uninstalling all these parts. Really no good way to do this. Of course, right on cue, it starts raining now, so I'm gonna have to bring you guys in just a second. This is so much fun. By MCLAREN, they said. I got to this point just now and I realized these coolant lines that we wanted to look as OEM as possible. This one here running from the heater core all the way down, you can see we didn't really cut that pipe. And this is the coolant line that attaches to it. Obviously, I need to cut it way back here. I think I could potentially cut it to length without the steering rack in place. So I'm gonna take that back out and we're gonna go ahead and see if we can get this coolant line cut to length. This is not as fun as it looks. Do I really need to take the whole heater box out again to get, wait a second. This, and hopefully you don't damage any freaking hydraulic lines. Nothing to it but to do it. Please. I am not looking forward to doing that again.
I I know it might sound kind of lame to a lot of you hardcore builders watching, but this is my first time swapping an entire steering assembly in a car, and also my first time doing the same with the brake booster and steering pump and hydraulic system. So while maybe I'm taking a lot of time to do it all, and it might seem a little clumsy to a lot of you guys, it's a great learning experience, and I'm taking my time to make sure I do it right. But I will admit, it's a lot of trial and error as well.
All right, sweeping declaration. By the end of this video, I want to have all the major mechanical components installed on the car, everything that the front end would need. Obviously, I say that knowing that I will need some coolant lines still and a couple, maybe a hydraulic hose here and there. I will need a couple sensors we don't currently have to fill the empty little plugs and connectors on here. But when we get everything installed, we will then know what we need, and I can place those orders, get things on the way. And so hopefully by next video, then we'd have all the plugs and connectors and coolant lines and everything filled. And then we could actually drive the car at that point if the coolant system works fine. And that's the plan. So where I'm currently at, where I left off last night, we have the heater box officially installed. We have the steering rack also officially installed. The hydraulic pump is where it needs to be. So today we need the steering pump, and we also need the brake booster installed. Then there is also the brake module to install as well, a couple sensors and hydraulic junctions here and there, and that's pretty much it. So let's just get straight to work on this thing. Also, forgot to show you guys Lord Curt's finished work. So he welded up this tab which had broken off. So you guys can see right there, he laid a ton of weld down, and this thing is strong as a freaking stallion right here. So this little repair here actually saved me about $800 because this actually connects all the way to the door hinge. So I'd have to literally buy an entire brand new door hinge, take the door off and everything if we didn't have this tab still to weld on, and Curt could weld it on. So that saved me like $700 to $800 just by him welding this. So that's so huge thank you. I'll probably give him like a $5 tip or something at the end of this build. And I'm just grateful this tab was here on the old hood. I would think that this wouldn't be the thing to break. I would have thought that that little hood strut would have broken instead. But as luck would have it, it was just connected still to the hood. I just took it off and then Curt welded it back on. So that saved us a lot of money on this build. It's little things like that you can understand would start adding up. If I had to pay for everything like that out of pocket, things like that would have been adding up to at least $10,000 of just miscellaneous things that I saved by repairing things like that. And anybody who would be saying just do it right the OEM way and everything, you guys don't realize that if I did everything on this sketchy car as perfectly OEM and repaired it like McLaren Service Center would, I'd be in way over the price of just a clean title used McLaren 650S. So on this build, it's legit necessary to cut costs if I want it to even be worth it in the end. And it's just a cool story in my opinion. And hopefully in the end, it will just go to show that you can make, it's just a machine. You can make it work in many different ways. And if it works, it's fully functional and nothing's wrong, then that's totally worth saving $15,000 of my own hard-earned money and weeks and weeks and weeks of labor just to do everything as OEM as possible. Anyway, that was kind of just a fun fact for you. Back to work.
Now at this stage, I am installing all the little sensors that will soon be covered up by hydraulic and coolant lines, and also really just trying to piece the car back together, figuring out where lines run and what pipes connect where. I also know I'm working from a scarcity of knowledge for how it's supposed to look, and I don't have all the parts to make it obvious to me at this point, but during these couple hours looking at it and pulling out all the broken bits from the car, I was able to piece it together and discover what I was missing. But it was awesome seeing all the old connectors being connected up to the new components. I never knew where these connectors went until now, so that's pretty cool. In goes the steering pump, in goes the brake booster, no lines are connected at this point, and no fluids are filled. But I'm just gonna slap that battery in there and freaking send it.
Luckily from the accident, we actually have most of the units and the modules that we need. There's very few things we had to replace. The hydraulic module, obviously, the battery, obviously, and the heater box, obviously. But more and more, it's blowing my mind how pinpoint accurate the light pole was that somebody smashed into. It came directly in the center of the car, and everything from the heater box and the battery right in the middle, everything over was completely fine. It is crazy. All the connectors, everything in this area were all here. It just broke a few units right in the middle of the car. Everything else was fine. Crazy. But anyway, right now we're gonna mount back up the hydraulic junction that sits right here. The bracket is bent, but we know how it needs to go. so I can easily bend this back. It's like 1/8 inch steel or something. And then the ABS module obviously needs to get bent back so it sits right here. Yeah, so I'm just gonna get to work on that. Pretty exciting that we're almost done with this already. This might actually be a lot easier, hopefully, than I'm expecting it to be. I don't wanna bend anything else, but. First try, let's go. But I still do definitely need to bend this more upright. So let's just do that. It would work as it is, but I'm gonna try to make it as flush as possible. It actually might do it right there. All right, that's spot on right there. That is spot on. Yep. As luck would have it, I was just trying to find coolant and hydraulic lines in my big pile of parts in case I ordered some that I forgot that I ordered. And as luck would have it, we actually just found the passenger side ride height or suspension sensor, and it has the connector still on it and everything. So these wires right here that we didn't really know what they went to, right here, we have it and it's ready. I'm just gonna solder it in and get this sensor installed again too. When builds go on for months, little things like this, you know, sometimes you forget about. Anyway, we're gonna get this installed and everything keep getting put back on. Lots of hydraulic lines and stuff lining up where they all need to be though. Super nice. All right, here's the last piece of the puzzle, everybody. This is the impact bar that goes on the front. The real magic here, though, is this hood latch. This is the first time the hood latch is getting connected since the accident. And allegedly, you guys are all saying that the hood latch connects the engine bay latches as well, kind of completes the circuit. So this is probably the piece we've been missing the whole time, getting that engine bay cover open. So I'm gonna get the impact bar installed, get the hood latch plugged in, and I think we're gonna try pop in the engine bay after this is installed. So let's get to it. I'm excited. All right, obviously I'm just doing this temporarily because I will be taking this impact bar back off for the rest of the repairs that we need to do. So don't worry, it will be stronger, but look at that. Directly in the center of the car. That is so sick. All right, and then I think the stock wiring runs somewhere in this general fashion here. Please hold. Like we got some kind of a sensor maybe for like a headlight or something down here. Maybe a horn or something down here. I would think clamps onto somewhere about like this. We might just have an opening engine bay. I can't believe that. That's so sick. And I literally just got this like an hour ago. This is one of the crash sensors from the accident. Might as well just click it in right now, I guess. No idea how to actually work it though. Oh, that's crazy. That clicks in there. Wow. How do you even get that back out? Guess they don't want that disconnecting when you get an accident. Yeah, anyway, I'm gonna get a close up on all these little connectors. I have no idea what any of these are. And if you guys can help me out, that would be fantastic. All right, you guys, and just like that, it is officially time to connect the battery and just see what it does with all the components installed. Now, in the back of my head, I was actually expecting to have to remove all of these components, so I didn't really tighten them all down just yet. But I'm realizing now that all of these components up top, I can bolt in permanently, because if those coolant lines do end up leaking back there, I can just drop the subframe. I don't actually have to take any of this stuff back out. But it just kind of hit me how close we are to finishing the mechanical work on this car. It's all pretty much there. And once I throw all these brackets and stuff on for the fenders and stuff, it's all gonna get covered up real quick. As long as everything's fully functional, this thing's gonna be running and driving very soon, within the next week maybe, if I can get the rest of the parts soon. I think I just have one more mystery coolant line I'm missing somewhere. And you remember that I will need a couple more sensors that I have no idea what they are. If anybody sends me important things that I'm trying to figure out, I will hook you guys up in return. So I'm looking for this sensor here. It will go right by the hood latch, right on the impact bar. Don't know what that is. This very small pin connector here. Then this two wire brown and yellow connector that runs all the way, probably all the way over here somewhere. Then I got like a 2 wire here, and these ones will go underneath. Wouldn't surprise me if those ones were for a horn or something assembly. This will bolt up under there for the horns and everything. And then I'm not sure what this 2 wire is. It will connect somewhere up. It'll connect somewhere up here. And then if anybody knows the ride height sensor part number, that would be great. It will connect somewhere in the wheel well right here on the fender liners. I need both of those still. So one on the passenger, one on the driver's side. So I think I only have 5 or 6 sensors that I need, empty connectors that I'm not sure what they go to, besides the 2 ride height sensors, of course. So if you guys know what those are, if you can find part numbers or something for me, please hit me up, injamotorcycles@gmail.com. All right, and once again, let's get this battery connected. I'm always nervous doing this with all the modules installed, connected, but nothing on the lines. So there's a good chance I connect this and it's just like, I don't even know if it will line up. All right, nothing to it but to do it. It's alive. All right, I have in fact the remote in my hand. Let's go ahead and try to unlock it, see what happens. Things are starting to light up. Oh no, it's already freaking out on me. Let's open the door the illegal way here. Please don't set off the alarm, please. All right, I am a little nervous, but we're gonna show you guys, we're gonna turn the ignition on, see what actually happens, what it reads now. Passenger door internal release fault. Are you freaking serious? This is the first time I'm sitting in this. Oh, freak, I'm on jack stands right now, and that was not a good sound. Let's turn the ignition on. Why did everything turn off? Why? Okay, turning the ignition on now. I get the sense that I need to let it stay on the battery a little bit longer. I'm just gonna roll this in the event that it actually does work. Unlock the car, 3, 2, 1.